Hey everyone, this is Christopher Brower here with Daily Motor, and today we're driving the 2021 Jaguar XF P300 R-Dynamic all-wheel drive SE. This is the latest offering from Jaguar for a sort of mid-sized sedan. And I'm sorry to say that this is only a 4-cylinder turbo. We no longer have a V6 or a V8 option. We're down to just one engine choice. You can have either rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. This car is, of course, all-wheel drive, which means we have the 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, which you kind of get either way, but this one makes a little bit more power. This one's got 296 horsepower, as opposed to the rear-wheel drive car that's got about 240, somewhere around there. Seeing as though you can only get this car with a 4-cylinder now, it makes me a little bit nervous for this car's fate. I feel like Jaguar is just trying to kind of phase this car out in a sense, because everybody just wants an F-Pace now. Nobody's really interested in an XF anymore, but I am. I think that this thing looks really cool. And Jaguars have always been about just being cool and being a little bit more sinister. And you've seen their commercials. All of the baddies, all of the villains in movies drive Jaguars, and I don't know, it's kind of sad to see this thing be reduced to just a sort of boring 4-cylinder turbo sedan. But don't worry, we'll take it out on the road. We'll see what it's really like. But for now, let's do a little bit of a walk around. And I want to start with the trunk because, of course, if you own an XF or any Jaguar, you're going to want to see if you have enough room for borrowed goods. And I'm happy to report that this has a very, very nice boot. And it's even got a little bit of a ridge back here. So if you are to be borrowing vases or something like that, you've got plenty of room back there to make sure they don't jiggle about and shatter on the walls of the trunk. But everything is padded back here. It's all nice and soft. And if the person you're trying to borrow from throws some nails down and punctures one of your tires, don't worry, because Jaguar has thought of that. You get a spare tire in this car, and everyone will know it's a spare because it's bright orange or red or something. It's a very, very bright color. But how cool is that? Not a lot of cars give you spares anymore, but the XF has a spare for you. I've also got a power trunk for when your hands are full of borrowed goods. It's able to shut for you. Shuts pretty nicely. Let's check out the back seat here. Pretty cool. We've just got a very simple spec on this car today, just silver on black, but we've got nice stitching to sort of offset and give the interior a little bit of dimension here. As you can see, leather on the top of the door panels. We've got leather here for our armrest. It seems to be a pretty nice leather. It's not the softest I've ever felt, but it feels like it'll hold up for years to come. Nice little armrest here with some cup holders with little grippy things to make sure any cup size will fit in there. No heated rear seats or climate control in this XF, but we do have some USB-C ports as well as a sort of old school phone charger thing there. We do have vents back here that you can control with these knobs, but like I said, you don't have a full climate control system. Seat back pockets that will get stretched out over time because they're made of this material. No sunshades or anything like that. Black headliner. We've got a moonroof. Pretty simple back here. We don't even have heated rear seats. So let's go ahead and move up to the front because that's where things get a little bit better in this XF. As you can see, an interior very familiar to the F-Pace that we were driving earlier on this year. Steering wheel, infotainment, shifter setup. It all looks very, very similar. Mostly the same, if I'm being honest. Let's go ahead and start this thing up. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Jaguar. Very interesting controls for your vents there. These both push and pull to adjust your vent, your heated seat. So I can adjust my heated or cooled seat this way, depending on which way I push or pull that. I'll leave that on. It's kind of cold out. But anyways, up here, we've got a nice, very nice actually, leather stitching on the top of the dash. That white stitching is carried throughout. We've got that on top and on the bottom of the dash, so that looks great. Very cool textured design here on the top of the seat, and we have the Jaguar logo embossed into the headrest there as well. The seats are very, very cool. They're something that's a little bit more unique. Sets this car aside. We've also got 1935 Jaguar, little tag on the seat there to show Jaguar's heritage. We've got a volume knob down here next to the shifter and our start-stop button. We've got our little mode dial that pops up and down manually. It's very strange, but the mode selector actually works very well, and we'll get more into that on our test drive. Move this door back. You can see that we've got some cup holders, another spot for a phone charger there. We've got a wireless charger there below our climate control. More USB ports and chargers in here. God, you can plug in like 10 things at once in this car, I suppose. Here's our window sticker for the car. $62,295. So you've got quite a few options on this car. Base price $49,995. Convenience pack, cold climate pack, and the dynamic handling packs are what we have on this car, as well as the Meridian sound system, the 20-inch wheels, the, oh yes, the rear view mirror, which is also an camera. Look at that. I've been driving around with that on the camera view this week. Pretty sweet. And just a couple other small options. Suppose I should have been using the soft closed doors. Why was I not doing that? That's something that's very cool, and the last thing I would have expected to have on an XF. We've got a heated steering wheel. The buttons on here are a little bit weird. They look like they'd be haptic touch, but they're actual buttons. You push down on the whole thing, and you can see you've got your heated steering wheel there. You've got your lane keep assist over there, which probably only, oh, we had it for a second. There it goes. The buttons are a little bit finicky. I'm not a huge fan of the way that this is all laid out on here. Cruise control as well as a speed limiter can get a little bit confusing. We've got another control over here for our audio, and down here, two knobs. Two knobs are better than one. Paddle shifters on our steering wheel here. They feel quite nice, and they appear to be metal, as you can hear. Turn signal stalks, those feel nice as well. I think that pretty much covers everything. If you're curious about the Meridian sound system, make sure to stay tuned for Charlie's test on that. He'll have an in-depth review of the infotainment and the sound system, which is pretty dang impressive. So make sure you take a look at that video. All right, well, let's go ahead and put this thing into drive and take it out on the daily motor test route and see what it's like on the road. This shifter is a little bit strange. It's a little bit like a felt Alcantara sort of material. I'm not really too sure what they were going for there, but you've got a little button on the back that allows you to unlock it. So when you go into drive, you've got to unlock. So, well, sorry, when you're in reverse, you can see we have a 360 camera here and just a normal reverse camera. We've got lines that move with the car on the 360 camera, which is cool, shows you where you are going. But you can't just slap it into drive. You have to make sure you hit the unlock button. Got myself into a little bit of a hairy situation a couple of times with that, because on most cars, once you're already in reverse and you've used the unlock to go into reverse, you can just slap the car into drive, but not with the XF. You've got to make sure that you hit that button. So a couple of scary moments. Sometimes this camera stays on for quite a bit. As you can see, we've got one in the front as well. Sometimes it just stays on. There it goes, okay. Earlier it stayed on until about 60 miles an hour. It's very strange. Ooh, apologies for the bright sunlight we're gonna have for a small portion of this today. So if you fast forwarded here to the driving part, this XF is powered by a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that makes 296 horsepower. So we don't quite have 300 horsepower, but it feels all right. I would say that it is quick. Since this is all-wheel drive, we have the 296 horsepower. If you opt for rear-wheel drive in this car, you only get about 242, I want to say. So it may be worth it to opt for the all-wheel drive. I think this change in the test route is going to be a permanent one, guys. We've got like a huge hill of dirt there now. And backing that 4-cylinder turbo is the iconic ZF 8-speed automatic, which in this car feels a little bit lazy. It doesn't feel as sharp as it does in some of this car's competitors. Well, when I say competitors, names like the Charger Scat Pack or Hellcat or other similar cars, this transmission just snaps shifts, and in this car it feels a little bit lazy. Got a little bit of a delay there between gears, but we're also just in comfort mode. We can switch this thing into dynamic very quickly, actually. Down once on the shifter puts us into sport transmission mode as well, and we can take manual control with one click of either paddle. And it'll let you hit rev limiter, which is pretty cool. Yeah, this thing's pretty quick. I would say that it would certainly be fantastic to have Jaguar Land Rover's new inline 6 in this car, but nobody cares about cars anymore, so why would they give that to us? Yeah, this car honestly feels great at high speeds. It's very, very sharp and composed. We do have a shift light over there telling me to change gear. I wish they would turn that off when you're in dynamic mode. We've got a slightly different look on our digital cluster depending on what mode we're in. Got slow traffic here on the corner. This car is unbelievably composed. It corners so flat and it's so agile, and everything about it, it's really just nice. And it's a little bit of a shame because how many people that drive this car are actually going to push it to that limit? Probably no one. So that tells me that this car has so much more potential to have a better powertrain or a more powerful powertrain instead of just this little turbo 4-banger that doesn't even make 300 horsepower. So it's a little bit of a shame. Really just tells me that JLR is giving up on sedans. A little bit of a bumpy ride. That could be because I'm in sport mode. The shifts definitely sharpen up when you're in dynamic mode. Still though, not as fast as some of the other cars that share the transmission with this XF. I think that they've sort of softened it up and toned it down quite a bit. All right, let's go full opposite. Let's go into eco mode, and we'll put this back into just normal drive. Eco mode makes the throttle a little bit heavier. It's not quite as reactive. And of course, the car is searching for the highest gear possible to get the best possible fuel economy. The steering feel is very sharp and direct, as well as the feel of the steering wheel. It feels pretty nice in hand. We've got a nice smooth leather on the outside, and then all around the inside we have this very nice perforated leather. And as I mentioned earlier, it is heated, but you've got to hit the heated steering wheel button about 4 times for it to recognize that you actually want the heated steering wheel to be on, or it just won't give it to you. Oh, can I go to dynamic mode quick? All right, let's try dynamic mode just in automatic to see how this transmission reacts here. It's not telling me what gear it's keeping me in here. Unbelievably flat around there at about 60 miles an hour. Traction control keeping me very well in line, but not as fast as typical Michigan Dodge Ram drivers. Yeah, this car feels great high speed around corners. It's so agile, it feels quite a bit lighter than it actually is. Something in the road here, we shall dodge it. And let's go back into comfort mode. This is the mode that this car will be driven in the most. We do have a lane keep assist over here on the right, as well as radar guided cruise control. This is not a steering assist though, so I mean, if I let go of the steering wheel, I'm in the other lane. You see it gets me there at the last second. But it's nothing that we would see, you know, in a Hyundai or a Kia. Quite a few manufacturers are integrating very, very good systems into their cars. So it's a little bit of a shame to see just a very mediocre system on this Jaguar, but at least it has something. That just tells me that probably the F-Pace will be the first thing to get the really good system integrated into it. And with that ZF 8-speed being calmed down a little bit, it really benefits the car in the smoothness department. The smoothness of the transmission and the engine are just effortless. You don't have to try to be smooth. The car is just smooth. It's also very quiet. You get a little bit more noise in dynamic mode, but it's just a really nice driver, this car is. But at the end of the day, it is just a little bit sad, because usually when manufacturers are about to phase a car out, they limit a lot of the options and kind of just bend it. I don't know. I mean, we don't have as many choices as we used to have. This one's pretty much fully spec'd out with the R Dynamic pack and the all-wheel drive with the 296 horsepower. But how cool would it be to have this chassis with like a supercharged or turbocharged inline six? That would be incredible. That would be so cool. But I don't think we're ever going to see that day. The F-Pace SVR that we were driving earlier this year, that car was an animal. That thing was absolutely outrageous. It just said F you to everyone around you. It was bright yellow and so loud. Same transmission as this, actually, just tuned to be way more aggressive. But how cool would that powertrain be in this car? That would be ridiculous. Paint this thing yellow and put a big supercharged V8 under the hood. We used to have that. Jaguar made a car called the XF-RS, and it was bright blue, like the Focus RS nitrous blue. I remember driving that car in Forza and thinking, man, I would love to have one of these one day. This car, it just kind of doesn't have that flair anymore. I don't even feel the need to go to someone's house and borrow in this car. I definitely felt the need to do that in the F-Pace SVR. Lots of urges to go borrow. But not in this XF, and that's a little bit of a shame, because Jaguars should have that special character to them, like the old XJS V12, the XJR, the XF-RS, the F-Pace SVR, the F-Type, any trim of the F-Type. Well, not the 4-cylinder variant, but just gloss over that. It's just a little bit disappointing when you've got all of this potential and powertrains and legacy to your company, and this is the only sedan. All right, everyone. Well, that is going to pretty much sum up my review of the Jaguar XF R-Dynamic P300 all-wheel drive SE. An overall pretty good car. I don't have very many complaints with the thing. Could have a little bit more power. The shifter's a little bit annoying. But other than that, I really do like this thing. Could it be better? Yes. Am I more disappointed in Jaguar as a company than I am in the car? Yes, because I know what they're capable of. I know their legacy. And it just makes me a little bit sad. So that's my final take on this XF. Park is a button right there. You don't even have to turn the car off. As soon as you take your seatbelt off, it knows that you're getting out. So that's that. Yes, soft close. I would say it's a very good looking car, and it looks quite executive in silver as well. I usually don't like silver on cars, but I think it actually looks kind of proper on this thing. All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for watching. This may be the last XF that we drive, but I hope it's not. I hope that they get their act together, give us an inline 6 or a V8 or something in this. One can only hope and wish and dream. All right, everyone. Well, this has been Christopher Brower with Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.